Hey everyone, today I'm showing you this altered pegboard or bulletin board, sorry, that I picked up at the dollar store. I decided that I was going to go ahead and alter it and just paint it and decorate it. So I started off by using some sandpaper just to knock off the finish off the board before I went ahead and laid down this light pink acrylic paint. I wanted something a little bit darker, so I ended up going over it again with a darker shade. I just added a couple drops of red to that very, very pale pink because I'm going to be doing a crackle technique. I'm impatient, so you see I'm going to be using my heat gun a little bit. There's the crackle medium. And I'm just going to go ahead and spread a layer of that all around the edges of my board here. Now, the thing about crackle medium is depending on how thick a layer you put down will determine the size of the cracks. So if you put down kind of a medium to thicker layer, you'll get larger cracks. If you do a really thin layer, you'll get very small cracks. And so I did a little bit thicker layer. You're supposed to let it air dry until it's tacky, but I'm again impatient, so I went ahead and used my heat gun. And I find that, you know, it doesn't really affect it too badly as long as you don't overheat it. You don't want it completely dry. So now I'm going over it with this cream acrylic paint. These are just craft paints that I picked up at Michael's and Joann's. As you can see at the bottom right hand corner, the cracks are already starting to form. So it's pretty quick. And by the time I finish this other edge, you can see that most of the right hand side is already cracking. And again, because I used that thicker layer, the cracks are quite dramatic as opposed to really fine cracks. So now I'm taking the stamp from Girls Paperie. This is one of the embellishments that I've decided to use for my bulletin board here. So once I finally get this thing peeled off the backing sheet, which it took me a little strength, a little muscle to do that, it was really stuck down. I'm going to go ahead and mount that on an acrylic block. I'm really going to spare you most of the decorating that I did and the time that I spent deciding what I was going to use and where I was going to use it, but I'm just going to show you a few of the elements that I did here. So I'm embossing this little dress form. So I'm just stamping this with some Versamark onto some scrap white cardstock from Stampin' Up! And I save all my scraps because you never know when you're going to need it, like in a case like this. And then I'm using some gold embossing powder. This is also from Stampin' Up! I do like their gold embossing powder a lot. I have like 3 different brands of gold embossing powder, and this is the one that tends to clump the least. It's got really fine details. I really like this embossing powder a lot. And before I make a total mess of my table, I'm going to go ahead and pour the extra back into the jar. And then I'm just going to take my heat tool and go ahead and melt that embossing powder. So you can see that it is starting to turn right there. And just like normal embossing. And then I'm going to go ahead, once I finish this up, I'll be cutting this out with my scissors. So I'll spare you the details of, you know, the whole process of cutting that out, but there you can see I'm getting it started. Alright, and then once I've got this cut out, I'm going to take some Vintage Photo distress ink with my distressing tool and just add a little bit of the ink to the edges of my dress form, and just to give it a little depth of color. And then I'm also going to go ahead and do that to the edges of my board. I'm going to make my own glimmer mist by using some Perfect Pearls in a little vial here of a mini mister. And then once I get it all shaken up, the color is blush, by the way. Once I get it all shaken up, I'm going to take this gardenia from IamRoses.com and just add a little color and a little glimmer to it. Alright everyone, so we got the altered bulletin board all finished. Sorry, I ended the video because it was, you know, just a lot of kind of repetitive stuff, so I just went ahead and did the decorating off camera, and I just wanted to walk you through it real quick. So I glimmer misted and used some Perfect Pearls here on these flowers. Some of them are I Am Roses, some of them came from Michael, some of them, you know, there's a variety of different ones here. Recollections, that kind of thing. So I went ahead and I added all the different flowers here in the bottom corner and hot glued those down, added a little feather. Here's that embossed dress form that I cut out, and I've got that popped up a little bit. And then I added, excuse me, one of the Tim Holtz Dodge tickets, and then some halfback pearl trim that I added all the way around here. So just to give you, oops, got my finger in the way, give you a little bit better idea here on that crackle work, which turned out really cool, and I did it on the sides here too. So I just attached the halfback pearls, let me zoom back out here again, and a couple other embellishments, and finished it off here. So that's pretty much it. Oh, and by the way, how's my ring? Isn't it gorgeous? My daughter gave it to me from her Pretty Princess game. Lovely. Anyway, so there we go. There's my frame all done. Now these don't come with anything on the back, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to hang it, if I'm going to make it on a stand or if I'm going to hang it on the wall, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out. It was a really fun project to do, and I hope you like it, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.